Hello, this is Craig Mertens, Director of Product Education for Printavo. We are the parent company of Printavo, Graphics Flow, and Inksoft. And we put together this special presentation. We have a lot of people that have made inquiries about Printavo, and they haven't had an opportunity to necessarily schedule a personalized demo. So you're going to get a personalized demo. And so my perspective from the kind of the family business shop owner's perspective is the tools that are available today to help you to successfully run your shop. Would have been pretty nice having those tools back when we were running our shop 30 years ago. We just didn't exist. The technology wasn't there. And one of the things that, I always like to kind of point out is anytime you're investing in software, what you're actually doing, you're buying time, you're buying back your time. And whether it's helping your, employees to be more successful and to be more productive, improving communication, you're investing in software because you want to have more capacity and you're buying that time back. And that's something that I certainly learned in my career as both a business owner as well as a trainer, that the one thing you can never get back is time. So where does Printavo fit into the ecosystem? It's the shop management side of things. It's the part that we're going to use to help you to organize and grow your print shop. So I'm going to share my screen and I'm going to turn my mug off here. You'll notice in the first slide, we talk about organizing and growing your print shop. The first slide, it talks about, why people are talking about us. When you're processing orders, important information gets lost because a lot of times you have different software tools. Maybe you're using Trello to match your jobs, kind of track your jobs or an Excel spreadsheet. You're working with QuickBooks and your accounting. Maybe you have, using cloud-based storage software, and those tools aren't communicating with each other. So it's obviously pretty easy to, kind of lose track of information. And when you lose track of information, what happens? We miss deadlines, mistakes get made, and it doesn't necessarily serve the customer. We're losing business and money because paper order forms disappear and whiteboards get erased. I can absolutely relate to that. When we had our printing business, I can't tell you how many times we were chasing around job envelopes. Hey, does somebody have the job envelope for XYZ? And employees misask because they don't know what's already been done on a job. Nobody's really sure where things land. For most shops, this is pretty indicative of a typical workflow. You get a quote, customer approves it, hopefully they pay you, then all of a sudden we got to deal with the art. So the art's got to get created, it's got to get approved, and once the art's approved, it goes into a purchasing process. So we got to get all the blank products ordered. Then it goes into pre-production, which is typically going to be scheduling to making sure we have enough time on machines to run the jobs, also doing things like making sure the film output, if we're screen printing, is ready to go, if the embroidery files digitized. Then you have the production process. Then you have post-production where you're doing quality control checks to make sure that the product is going out the door, meets the expectations of the client, and then out the door through shipping, and then the net result is a happy customer. What we want to do is we want to create a repeatable process. And one of the things that I think a lot of times shops do as they grow is it just becomes a scramble. We're always scrambling. One of the things that we want to do is save time through automation. Obviously, the end game is keeping our customers happy, and team visibility. Being able to have a well-organized process is pretty important. And so one of the things that Printavo does is it solves organizational problems. Ultimately, what we want to do is reduce errors. We don't want to miss deadlines. We don't want to be losing jobs. The most expensive part of messing up a job isn't the money you lose out of the job, but losing the customer is the expensive part. Like I said before, people use so many different software tools, and the tools are talking to each other. There's too many touch points. Communication problem. We solve communication problems. Even problems of abundance are still stressful. So being able to rest easy and know you have a process that's bulletproof is pretty important. Customers want feedback too. And I think that's one of the things oftentimes we forget about is we're so just busy getting stuff out the door. Customers like to know what's going on. Contracting transparency, what's that mean? And that's a real issue. Maybe you're doing contract printing and you need to drop ship. And when you drop ship, you can't have any of your company indicta on the invoices. It's got to be branded for your customer. Being able to handle that. How is Printavo going to help you? And then we're going to get right into kind of the demo of the software. Helps print shops manage an efficient and automated workflow experience. And that, kind of starts with your quotes and invoices, that quoting and invoicing process. Days of just sending an email quote, I think customers expect more than that. I think they want to see something formatted with the artwork and a picture of the product. I manage job details and store them in the cloud. I love cloud-based software because you know what? I can go on my phone, or in the case of Printavo, I actually have a phone app, and I can see where I'm at, where my purchase orders are at, where my orders are in production, what tasks that are assigned to me, The ability to use the cloud opens up the whole world of communication. Manage customer communication and stay on a single platform. Man, wouldn't it be awesome just to be able to do everything with one platform that incorporates text messaging and incorporates email communication and inter-office communication and messaging within your organization all under one platform? That would be awesome, wouldn't it? That's what Printavo does. And managing your sales pipeline. We did an interview with one of our clients. One of the things that he said during the interview is one of the things I've really focused on is making the maximum amount of opportunity out of my existing customers and my existing opportunities that are in front of me versus chasing new business. He says it's much easier for me to grow my business by just taking care of all the needs of my customers, keeping an eye on that sales pipeline and making sure you're winning all the opportunities and managing your transactions and getting paid. We're the payment processor. You can go into your account. You can see what money's coming in. If you need to do a partial refund, you can do that right within the app. It's all right there. It's just tied to the system all in one place. Manage your workflow and keep everyone in the know. Keeping that communication going so everybody knows what's going on. There's dropped balls. We need to have a system that is going to identify them so we don't repeat those drop balls. Manage your team and maintain accountability. We want to make sure everybody's happy. And if you don't know where the problems are and the balls are being dropped, employees that aren't taking accountability, that's actually a pretty big challenge. And then logistics, things that we always forget about, pickup and delivery, printing out shipping labels, having a good logistical system to be able to print labels and just slap a label on an envelope, get it out the door. That's really important when you're producing hundreds of one-off designs. And then finances. It's important because at the end of the day, we want to make sure that we have money left over after we're done and being able to pull up a report and see what our expenses were and how we did that month based on our order volume and what we had go out versus what we had come in, and that there's profit there at the end of the month. Managing group orders. People don't realize there's a very simple, elegant merchandise and e-commerce solution built into Printavo where you can take an invoice or a quote and just turn it into a web store. It's a simple little online order form. Customers can purchase. Once the store is closed, everything flows into your production system. Let's actually get into Printavo. When you log into Printavo, it's a web app. What does that mean? It means you can log in on your phone. It means you can log in on your tablet computer. It means that you can log in on Mac, Windows. We don't really care because it's running as a web app. As a result of that, it's mobile responsive. If you are on a small screen, it looks like it should on a small screen. If you're on a big screen, it looks like it's on a big screen. And I have this set up so the text is pretty big, but I can make it smaller or larger. And that's one of the advantages of a web app. So when you first kind of start into Printavo, where you're going to land is on the calendar. Calendar at a glance, you can just have instant visibility on everything that's going on in your organization. And there's different calendar views. You can go to a weekly view. You can see everything that's cruising along for the week. You can go to a daily view, or you can go to a monthly view. And each one of these little squares not only represents a job, but it also represents a job status. And so I can click on the square, see all the details of the job, but I can see at a glance just based on color coding, the kind of where we're at with things. I can also filter by status. So let's say art department's getting backed up and I wanted to see just what's going on in the art department. Everything that we have that's related to artwork, we've color coded with orange. I can go in and just filter out this and just see where the art department's backed up and see what's really going on there. And maybe I need to look at bringing in an additional artist, or maybe work with the good folks over at Graphic Source and get a outsourced artist through them. I can very easily identify kind of where the holdups are. The standard job statuses that are included in here is probably about 15, but we've added all of these additional job statuses and customized statuses. With Printavo, the way that you manage workflow is not the way we think you should be managing your workflow. It's the way you manage your workflow and you adapt the software to your processes. It's one of the things that I've seen on quite a few other systems is that they think you should do it this way, and their system is very rigid and strict, and it says, this is how you should do it. And we built our software so it only works within our workflow. That doesn't work for me. I have a belief that over time you get better and you improve processes and you find workarounds and shortcuts, and your system for production management and shop management should be able to adapt to that. Think of the calendar kind of as your digital whiteboard. Printavo platform is also a CRM. If you have accounts that are in your QuickBooks and you want to export them, or maybe you're keeping a list of accounts in Excel, you can just import those right into Printavo so you have access to your customers, which is really handy. And bear in mind, there's multiple users. So when I'm in my Printavo account and I look at my tasks, I can look at everybody else's tasks, but I also have the ability to just look at, hey, these are the things that I'm responsible for here in my tasks. I think at the end of the day, what the calendar is about, it's just a safety net to make sure that balls don't get dropped. And I can get a quick little synopsis of what's going on with this job right here. But if I want to see the entire job in the quote, I can click on view and see the whole thing. Or over here, if I want to change the status right here, because maybe the customer just called in and approved it by phone, I can go in here and change the status to, let's see, quote approved, quote declined, quote approved, terms, customers paid because I took the credit card when I'm on there. And so just send them a receipt. It's an automation. The next part, and probably the most fundamental part of Printavo, is quotes and invoices. So what's the difference between a quote and an invoice? It's a great question. It becomes an invoice when you're going to get paid. That's really the only difference. Quote is a quote. And then when it becomes an invoice is when you send it out to get paid. And when does it become an order? It becomes an order when a customer says, yep, that's what I want. So quote is the conceptual part, so that the customer. Order is the, yep, we're going to do it. And then invoice is, okay, we're done, pay us, or pay us before we go to the next step. In Printavo, all of that is handled initially through a quote. Quotes are really the fundamental part of the tool. And I don't know how you guys feel about this. One of the biggest kind of pain points for anybody quoting out of say you're quoting out of QuickBooks or a generic platform, is being able to track down pricing information from vendors, being able to track down product photography, all the different product descriptions, size ranges, all of that. That's all handled in Printavo through a product feed. So we're integrated with the big three, SNS, Alpha, and SandMar. So we're getting all of that data updated to us continuously, including product photography. So if I'm going to initiate a quote, it makes sense to just hit the little plus button over here, and I'm going to click on quote. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to either create a new customer, or I'm going to start typing in the description of the customer so I can pull them up. So if I want to create a new customer, I just click on new customer. But if I just want to pull somebody up, I'll just pull up Adam Shirt Shack right here. The person associated with Adam Shirt Shack is Adam Adamson. I could have pulled up Adam Adamson too, either way. But now I've got all of Adam's information. At a glance, I can look at it. One of the things that I'll probably want to do is add a nickname. And why is a nickname important here? You can get, if you do a nickname, when you run a report, you can get some additional information. Like, for instance, know that there's 144 units on this order and that the drop dead ship date is 11/1/23. As I create a nickname, I can put some additional information in there. I think that's a really good practice. Any of these white areas, these are going to be things that, generally speaking, customers are going to have access to. Like, this will be printed out on the invoice. When you see gray area here, this is going to be internal. Customer notes would be maybe a little message that you want to put on the quote when you send it out. You can redeem a 10% discount on your next order if you refer a customer to us, right? This is customer facing. Production notes, this is where you have special requirements, like for a direct to film transfer, and you want to put time and temperature in there. Or maybe something, this client is slow pay, get 100% prepaid. We all have customers like that. That's a good place to put it. They're not going to see this. Customer notes means they'll see. This text will be publicly visible, the little tooltip here. And right here, this text is only visible to the shop. Now, production files, this is one of the things I really like about Printavo, because having managed production myself, the production file, whether it's the file that has the color separations in it, or it's the vector art, or the photo, or whatever is going to be output to your particular piece of equipment, or maybe it's the image file that goes to the heat transfer company, that travels with the quote, travels with the order. It's coming along on the entire ride through production. So if I go over here and I go to production files, I go and select a file, maybe it's a PDF file or an SVG file here. I'll go over, just put a production file in here, and we'll use this little cross-country logo. Okay, so I just uploaded the PDF. That's going to be attached to this order. So anytime I go to this quote or order, it's just going to be in there, and then I can tag it too. So if I want to put a tag in here and say, hey, this is a rush order, I can put a rush order tag in there. So that's going to make it searchable. Or I could put a tag in there that's maybe just holiday, on my holiday designs. I want to kind of keep track of what's going on with holidays. So I have the ability to add a little tag in there, and then this is just going to come along with me as I go through production. And so over here, these are all the people in my organization. So if I'm the salesperson filling out the quote, I'm going to pick my name. Delivery method, I'm just going to do, we'll do UPS second day on this because it's kind of a rush. Put in my PO in here. Date created, production due date. I'm going to push this out to the 31st. And then customer due date, they're going to need to have it in hand by the 3rd. So that's why I need that UPS second day. An invoice date it's going to invoice on the 31st. Now, when I go to net 30 terms, let's say I'm going to break my rule and let them do net 30, it's automatically going to calculate a past due invoice date. So 10/31, 11/30, it's going to automatically generate a past due invoice date, and I'll know that it's past due based on that. The other thing too, profile. Let's say you're a contract printer and you work with a bunch of promotional products distributors and you print for them and you drop ship. You can set up a printing profile. If I click Sound and Fury, when this gets invoiced, it's going to go out with Sound and Fury's address on it, their logo, and it's going to look like it's coming from Sound and Fury. As opposed to I'm selling directly to my customers, it's all going to come from me. So when you're doing drop shipping programs or contract printing, it's really awesome being able to set up these profiles, being able to manage the customer facing side of things. So the packing slip comes from Sound and Fury. The invoice comes from Sound and Fury. It's got their logo, all their information. The next part is going to be obviously inputting the products. And we have that ability to search for products and add products. But first thing we want to do is we want to identify the type of job that we're working with. In this case, we're working with the screen printing job. I'm going to go in here under description. Let's say I'm going to use the Gildan 2000. I could type in the SKU. I could go in and type in the product description or the part number. And so I'm going to choose from S&S, the ash color Gildan. I'm going to go over here and we're going to put in 24, we'll do 24 over here, 24 over here. Over here, we'll do the same thing. I'm going to add another line and I'll put in my double X's in here. And we'll just go and put my down. I can add other columns for additional extended sizes. Put that all in there. And then I need to add an imprint. So adding the imprint is really important because the imprint is going to be instrumental in terms of how this goes through production, because we have different production stages based on the imprint type. So we have different production stages for embroidery versus screen printing. Good call out there would be get file digitized, print film, those kind of things. When I go over here and I select an imprint, I'm going to choose type of work. Over here is I'm going to choose screen printing, and then I'm going to select a pricing matrix. So I have different types of pricing matrices. I can set those up. If I have a pricing matrix for contract printing or maybe print to the trade for promotional products distributors, I could do that. Or maybe I just have one pricing grid for VIP customers. I could pick that, but I'm just going to pick a general screen printing pricing grid. Hit done. And then I'm going to click on refresh pricing, and that platform is going to generate my pricing for me. I can override this. I don't have to use the pricing, but it's going to, if I hover my mouse, it's going to say, hey, this is, what my markup percentage is, what my print cost is for a one color design. Right now I have it set up as a one color for a total of 96 items. And same thing when I hover over here. It's just a really quick way to price out your products. And you set up those pricing formulas when you first set up your Printavo account. It's really easy. It's just a grid, and you just set it up how the way you like to work. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create a mockup because I want the customer to see what's going on. So I'm going to go to mockup creator over here. My mockup is going to be based on the blank that's getting pulled in from that product feed. I'm going to add a design, and a couple key points here when I add a design. Key point number one, if I upload like a PNG file or a JPEG file that's a bitmap for my mockup, I can knock the white color out. We have a tool that'll erase colors. But if I upload like a vector file, like a SVG file here, I've got a little bit more flexibility because now I can alter colors here. So on the mockup, and we'll make this a little bit bigger, these designs need to print a little bit lower from my experience with these more linear type designs, but I can recolor. So if I wanted to make this maybe a little bit more of a brighter red, I could do that, or maybe more of like a burgundy. If I have all my CMYK values, I can do that. And so I have the latitude here to change the color in the graphic without having to go back to an external graphics program or bug my art department. And once I'm done, I'm just going to hit save mockup here. And my mockup is saved. I'm going to go back to my quote. And there's my quote. and it's just sitting there chilling out. So I got all my quotes just sitting there chilling out. And what are next steps? Well, next steps are getting this to the customer. A couple different ways I can do this. Now, number one, we have a messaging system. So if I'm going to send out the quote to the customer, I can customize the message based on a template. So if I go to the quote approval template here, I can customize all this copy, everything. If I have a different quote that's going to be a payment request, I can customize all of that in here, and I can do a manual send. But I don't have to do a manual send because we have an automation set up. So if I go over here and go to quote and I select quote approval send, it's automatically going to email the customer with the template that I requested. You notice there's a little rocket ship next to that status. The rocket ship indicates that this has an automation that goes along with it. The automation is to send out the quote approval automatically. I don't have to send it manually. If I want to see what that looks like, I can just go over here to more actions and say public invoice view, and we can just kind of see this is what the customer is going to see. It's this web page. If they want to see a bigger part of the image, they can see that. If they have comments or they want to approve or decline, they can do that right within here. And I'm instantly notified. They can download a copy of this invoice or they can print it as well. It's a pretty slick way to go in and automatically just send out that quote. You'll notice you have all the different statuses here. Quite a few of these statuses are automated. So once they approve this, we know that it's been paid because they clicked on the paid button, they paid, quote's approved, and it's going to automatically slip down into this status for me. When we're working with quotes, it just really became an order as soon as they paid, right? And so we have to get this out to production. So one of the things I can do at this point is I can go and schedule it. So I can add this to our power scheduler. I'm just going to add that. I can add that to the power scheduler, and we'll come back and take a look at the power scheduler, but I just added that and set up an automation to automatically add that if I want to. So the way that you manage your inventory in Printavo is through purchase orders. If I go into a purchase order, I can create a purchase order. I can associate that purchase order with one or more jobs. This is going to ensure that I've got the right products ordered, and if there's any issues going on here, I can check them in. So all of these things are happening through automation. So if I go over here and everything is ready to go and it's sold through the art department and it's in production, I just moved it into production, and all of a sudden it's completed production, order ready to be shipped. Okay, so we've completed production. We're going to trigger a reminder that says, hey, you guys need to ship this. More actions, I just go down here, and this is where we talk about logistics. If I want to print the packing slip, I'm just going to do it right here. So we're integrated with shipping service. It's going to pull all of the shipping weight and dimensions, generate a shipping quote, create the barcodes, create the shipping labels. We're going to handle all of that for you. And here's your packing slip is going to look like. And if I go back over here to more actions, this is where you're going to use this to create your shipping labels. And then if you want to export this to QuickBooks Online, we can sync it up with QuickBooks Online so you don't have to double key this. And you'll notice there's also a little button here that says Create Merch Store. What we can do is we can take that quote, and instead of processing it as a payment, we can just keep it as a quote, and then we can create a merch store from that quote. And the merch store is going to look like, this one's actually live right here. And I'm going to go over here to more actions, and we're going to view the store. This was just automatically generated from a quote. So I didn't process the quote as just a regular invoice. I just created the quote. The quote becomes the template from the store. And then when we create the merch store, it looks like this. Customer can send this link out. They can create a QR code, put it on a postcard, post it in social media, a bulk email campaign, and the customer can click on the link on their phone, and they can pick out their sizes and quantities, add to cart, checkout. As each one of these orders is getting created, it's connected to that original invoice, and then we can bulk produce it as a job and just run it through production. So what you can do is you can print a postcard with a QR code that just directs them to here. And so instead of having the kids, go in and collect all these orders, they just hand out the postcard to grandma and grandpa and aunt and uncle, and they go online on their phone or their tablet, they place their order, it all gets collated. That's a really good way to drive a group sales program using a QR code. If I go into my account, I have the ability to do quite a bit of customization. including going and customizing my order statuses, all the production steps for each type of work I'm doing. We're always going to start off with kind of presets, but then you can go in and you can customize all of that. But one of the things that's really important is automations. There's a whole bunch of automations in Printavo that are going to be pre-configured for you. You can go in and edit them and make changes and do all those kind of things. But there's also the ability to create custom automations. And people will use like third-party tools like Zapier to do all kinds of crazy things. The automations are all designed to save you manual steps. And so whether you're using our standard automations like add quote approval button and text and email quote approval to customer, this is a standard one. You'll notice that there's some automations in here that we've gone in and customized. Add to power scheduler. So this is a stock automation. So as soon as we go to the art department status ready for art, then we're automatically adding this to the power scheduler as a unscheduled job. So we know to pick that job up and to schedule it. Customizing your job statuses. You can do statuses that are color coded. You can add emojis to them and maybe that triggers something. Best practices that we've done is anything that's declined or is a no-go, something that's holding up the order, we're going to put all of those in red. Anything that has to do with collecting payment, we've set these all up in green. These statuses can be in here, but they don't have to be necessarily turned on. We can go in and set up statuses and turn them on or off. It's kind of up to us. So it's a really easy way to manage your job statuses. When you start assigning tasks, this is one of my favorite things about Printavo, because you have instant visibility on all the tasks that are assigned to the various people based on production stages. You have little notes in here as well. And you can screen this out. So if I just wanted to look at just what's going on in the art department, I can just uncheck all of this and just see what's going on in the art department. Anytime we make a change to an order or an invoice, it is date and time stamping that, and it's not something that somebody can go back and change. So we're creating that accountability loop. One of the very biggest challenges when we had our printing business was we had a lot of equipment. We were running embroidery equipment. We had 2 automatic screen printing presses. We had about 7 manuals. We had a lot going on with this large influx of orders, being able to get things managed and set up on the machines, making sure we were using our machines at maximum capacity. That's a pretty important thing to us. I don't want to spend a ton of time at Power Scheduler, but this is a tool that's part of our premium plan. This is an upgraded feature, and I think it's one of the most important tools in the platform and one of the main reasons that customers go to the premium plan. I can send a job over here. It's unassigned right now. I can put the amount of production time, we'll say 600 minutes. We know this little 36-piece job here is only going to take 200 minutes because I have 840 minutes of production capacity on this particular machine. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to assign it to a machine. So I'm going to assign that to embroidery machine 1. I'm going to assign this to machine 1 as well. But maybe I don't have enough production capacity over here. I can assign it to machine 2. So now I've got these set up to machines. So I got 800 minutes, but look at, on Wednesday, I've got 840 minutes available to me. So I can take this job now and right here, I can drop that onto Wednesday. And then I can take this one and I can drop this one onto Wednesday. And I still got 40 units left. And if I need to move something around and I want to take this and move it to another date, I can split out the job, throw it into another day. The types of things that Printavo is designed to do, take all these manual tasks, all these things that are floating around in your head or in the heads of your employees, get it organized, improve the communication, and ultimately what we're doing is we're shortening the amount of steps and time and human capital that goes into getting your orders out the door. That's really what it's all about. So you hear me talk about buying back time. That's really what Printavo is all about. And then again, reinvesting that time into growth, because now all of a sudden you have more time, so you have more capacity, you can grow. And you can grow without having to hire additional employees. I had a customer recently tell me having Printavo is like having 4 additional employees. She explained, she broke it down. Here's the way we used to do it and all the processes that we had to have and all the human involvement we used to have. And then here's everything that we've automated along the way. So when you look at your overall investment in Printavo and what you get in terms of return, you're really getting employees. I want to thank you guys for coming out and hanging out with me today.